Hey everybody, welcome back to Plum Figgy. This is Tammy. All right, so let's work on the last signature of this Halloween junk journal. The signatures got a little chunky. I originally had planned to do more, but I couldn't add more because that would make this journal basically unusable, or not unusable, just really difficult to use. And so, yeah. So anyway, when I was planning it all out, I had placed ephemera for each signature into the middle, and that's kind of one of my things that I like to do is as I'm getting the signatures ready, I usually have a bunch of ephemera or cut apart sheets or what have you, and I just divided it up. Equally between the different number of signatures and stick it into the middle. And then sometimes, depending on how long it's taking me to complete a journal, a complete surprise as to what I have to work with there. So in this case, I had two kind of bigger pieces that I'm going to turn into basically another page. Honestly, probably what I could have done is just glued them together or stuck them together somehow and created a whole new page with them. But, I didn't do it that way. Decided to go ahead and do a tip in here with this one. And so it is essentially basically another page in the journal and some more writing space there. So got that done. And as you can see, those pages are quite a bit wider than some of the other pages. So I kind of had a little bit of a task for myself in this journal where some of these pages were too wide or wider. And so on the other pages, I've been trying to widen some of them a little bit so that so it's not weird looking, because, we don't want weird looking junk journals. I just wanted to, work all together and make everything look cohesive, basically. So this is one that is a really large sticker from the John Darien sticker book of a vulture. And I stuck that down on some packing paper. And that's kind of a theme within this journal. I've kind of been using these dyed gray, black pages along with the brown paper from the packing paper. And I really like that combination, actually. I really enjoy using packing paper, actually, a lot. It's very versatile, and I have a whole lot of it. Unfortunately, I don't think Amazon's using it as much anymore, but I still have a lot left over from packages and things that I have gotten in the past. So this washi tape, the skulls, I believe I got from Michaels this year. If you have a Michaels near you and you're looking for some Halloween stuff, I'd say go now, because I don't know that mine have very much left anymore, especially the paper crafting stuff. Just really goes fast. So. All right, so I went ahead and glued down that washi tape, but obviously, as you can see there, I was not happy with how it was sticking. And so I went ahead and pulled that up, and of course it took some of the paper with it, but that's fine. Decided to use this bit of black sari silk with some kind of mustard yellow sari silk to basically tip it in instead. But this time I'm going to sew it on. So it's really going to be secure and not fall out. I did decide to shorten or make that page just a little bit less wide. Also, it just didn't quite seem like it was fitting quite right on the page. So just made it a little bit easier for myself there. And then, here I'm just trying to decide, do I really want it on that page, or where do I really want this thing? So I decided, no, I'm going to put it on the very middle page instead. And lining my pages up now, and then I'll use some glue stick to tack it down. And then I'll go ahead and take that and sew it down in just a minute. But yeah, this is a really great way to use up. If you have sari silk scraps, it's a really great way to use up those scraps. I do it a lot actually, and I think it really adds a lot to your journal, but it doesn't bulk things up too terribly because the sari silk is really pretty thin. So I just did a zigzag stitch on both sides there, and we'll just put this back in now. Okay, now back to the smaller pieces of ephemera, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do here on this very first page. The little boy kind of made me think maybe school, and then I had this library card, and then that book cover. I thought, well, maybe we could kind of do something along those lines in this signature. And then that one piece of dyed paper with the flowers on it, I had stamped a large stamp on that, and it didn't really do very well in the middle. There was a lot of the design missing there. So decided to still try and use it another way. So you'll see that come back again later. But here I'm just trying to figure out how I want to handle this book cover. I've decided I want to put the book cover on this page and trying to decide what to do with it. Thought maybe a belly band, but then changed my mind again on that. And also it's kind of a thinner paper, so I wanted to strengthen it by adding some kind of tea-dyed paper or something. That there is a tea-dyed index card, which wasn't quite big enough. I wanted it to at least cover the back, if not more of the back. And then I found this other bigger piece of lined paper. So just stick that whole thing onto the back. And at this point I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll use that as some kind of a pocket that can fold open. So decided not to tear away the extra bits of paper on the top and bottom, and we'll just keep that. And then that way then this can fold open and you can have some kind of hidden writing space there. So of course now I'm distressing all the edges, making sure I get in that spine of that little piece of paper. And now I need to decide how I want to deal with that. Originally I had wanted to turn that into a pocket, but then I glued it on the wrong side. I don't do that very often anymore, but once in a while it still gets me. So, and then I was having a heck of a time. I could not get this to glue straight for the life of me. That little boy was kind of a problem at that point, just the size of the paper and stuff. So I decided, well, maybe I'll put that somewhere else in the journal here in the inside, and we'll just go with this for the cover of this signature. So then at this point I thought, well, maybe I could find another piece of sari silk for making a little tab on that little thing so that it can open up. So I just take this little bit of sari ribbon and just turn that into a tab, and then I'll do a zigzag stitch on that as well. And I managed to rip it up. So I had to glue it back down. But there we go. There's our first page of this signature. And now I got to figure out what to put into that little pocket that I just made. Just going through the bits of ephemera that I had set aside for this signature. And I didn't really like the way that those two were kind of just sticking out there. It just didn't look right to me. So I just took another piece of this kind of thin paper, actually, that could be used as some writing space, and we'll just tuck that in there. Okay. Yeah, and then I'm like, do I want to add more decoration? And no, I don't. It's good the way that it is. Okay, so moving on, wanted to use this. I thought this would make a really great pocket, a very shallow pocket. So in a different kind of spot though, I moved it up on the page and then put those two bits of ephemera in there that I had just maybe thought of using on the front page there. But I like this a lot better. And we have our tipped in piece of paper now. Okay, this big spider. I was trying to figure out what to do with that. You'll see it kind of appear here and there a few more times. And yeah, here I'm just trying to figure out maybe what I want to do on this page. There's a little bit of writing on the left side at the top, but then the bottom is kind of open and free for some more writing space. I really love those bats. So I thought maybe I would do something with those bats. And just looking for maybe something I can turn into a pocket or something like that, and finding some bits and pieces that, I can use throughout the rest of the signature. Here are, some x-rays. Didn't use that, but kind of went back to this bat thing and the hand, the skeleton hand. So thinking, oh, and then I remembered I had these photographs and she was perfect. So I went ahead and got rid of any white around the outside edge, and we'll just make her a little pocket down in the very bottom corner there and tuck some creepy things behind her. That's not creepy, but that is. Have a little skeleton hand. That actually is a sticker, so whoever ends up with this journal, the owner of the journal, can stick that somewhere else in the journal if they'd like, or keep it there if they'd like too. So just kind of playing around with these bats still. I wanted to use them, but I don't think I ended up putting them on here. I can't remember. Yeah, I did this. Lots of toxic in this journal with the, doctor who likes to do experiments that don't always end well for the people. Took a bit of lace there and thought maybe that would look kind of cool to put some of that lace behind the toxic sign, because she seems like someone who would wear lace like that. Okay, so now you're going to see if any of you use Fabri-Tac, and especially Fabri-Tac that's been sitting for a while, and don't put the lid back on right away, you'll know what I'm about to experience. My Fabri-Tac decided to explode, which is now on my finger. I don't know if you can really see that. And so I'm desperately trying to figure out what to do that I can glue down somewhere in this journal so that I don't waste all that big glob of glue, because that Fabri-Tac is not cheap. So here on this back page is a skeleton of what I assume is a child or a toddler, which I don't like. This page kind of it's the wrong kind of creepy for me. I don't do that. So, and then the other picture there was a skull with like a nice pick going through it, which, that's clearly murder. I don't really condone that. And then the two ladies below they're creepy and they're fine. But I ended up deciding just to collage over all of that and do my own thing on the back page here. So used that glue, had to think quick. Found a good spot for it, and so I'll do the top half of that collaged page now, and then I'll come back to it later. But I didn't know at this point if I wanted to turn that into a pocket or if I wanted to just glue it down. So that's what this brown paper was. There was still a lot of glue kind of just coming through. But then I realized that wouldn't be a very good place to put a pocket, because what would I put into it? It's just not in a very good spot to be a pocket. So I changed my mind on that and decided to glue the whole thing down. So it'll just be a nice little collage on the back page there. So there's that. And I did consider maybe not covering up the girls, but in the end, spoiler, I did. I decided that it just wasn't something I wanted for this journal. It didn't really quite work. So, okay, so back to what I was working on before the glue crisis. I went ahead and put the bats there on that page, and those are transparencies. So I decided to staple those on in a place where it wouldn't really mess around with. If you wanted to write on the little flap there, you could still do that, and those staples aren't quite in the way. Okay, and then that little boy is still there. I think I do move him one more time, but this here is from a funeral. It says, "In loving memory." So I thought that was kind of a good piece of ephemera for this journal, since we're kind of talking about, death and things like that. So yeah, but that'll come back in later. I decided at this point I wanted to put that moon up in the upper right corner, because then those bats are maybe flying towards the moon, or just kind of having that scene set there. And thought that was kind of interesting. And so I don't do that very often, but that stamp seemed to be kind of perfect for that spot right there. And so then I decided, well, let me get out my Tim Holtz snippets, and I ended up finding some stickers, word stickers, that kind of ended up being a nice little phrase for that. So I did distress around all of these, the edges of all of them, so that they kind of blended into the page a little bit. So just going to glue those down in kind of an interesting way. Decided to do it over the moon, again, to kind of save some space for more journaling space if you wanted, but also make it interesting. That'll be a new page in the journal, and you'll understand why in just a second when I read the little phrase to you here. So I had to slow it down. So it says, "Sometime in the middle of the night, in these very woods, secret, black, and midnight, someone digging in the ground." And then the bottom one says, "The savage monster." Ooh. So I was kind of thinking, oh, if this doctor keeps killing people, he's got to do something with the bodies. So yes, this is a spooky journal, guys. It's not always such a nice thing, but that's just what's in my mind. You could make up whatever story you want to, I think, with it. So since I was talking about something in the forest, I remembered I did still have this page, again from an old Michaels paper pad that I had already dyed, and so we're going to add this now as another page in the journal. And actually, I'm going to add it right there, right behind there. So you're going to see some of this woods peeking out from behind that page. And then at that point, I realized that little boy is not really quite in the best spot anymore. So I did move him over. And yeah, so had this bit of transparency still from the, I guess, transparency we put in the very first signature. And I thought, well, maybe that's the perfect spot for that, and just turned that into a belly band, and I'll add something to the belly band. So I'm really happy with how that kind of came out. It just kind of happened out of nowhere, which was kind of nice. So now I'm kind of going back to the drawing board here. So there is a lot of gray in this particular signature. So I'm trying to kind of keep it interesting by adding more of the brown paper and some brown ephemera and things, so that it's a little bit earthier. Yeah. So coming back to this now, I had decided to turn this into some kind of journaling card by gluing down that library card on top of the floral with the floral peeking out. And I really love how that came out. That was kind of cool, actually. I definitely saved that stamp because as you can see there, it didn't look quite good. But doing it this way really kind of helped save it. So just gonna tear around the outside edges and in keeping with all the other whatever else I've done in this journal, have the raw edges and things, and then I'll ink around all of those edges with the ink again. And now I gotta figure out where to put this in here. Didn't really know off the top of my head right there. I didn't have a spot for it planned or anything. I just knew I wanted to do it and put it in the signature somewhere. So we'll figure that out next. Yeah, that white crease there. That was from a digital kit that I printed off, and so used up some black ink on that one. Oh yeah, and the spider again. Again, that one's from the John Darien sticker book. And I decided probably this page would be a good spot for that library card journaling card because I had moved the little boy there and thought maybe that would make sense. Playing around with these wallpaper snippets again, and I did like the black and white, even though I was trying to get more brown into the journal. For this page, it just seemed right to use the black and white one. So just turning that into another belly band. And we can then put the library card in there. Okay. Yep, still trying to figure out what to do here. I feel like the paisley next to the forest doesn't quite make a lot of sense. I wanted to kind of break that up with something more neutral. And so this here is another piece of packing paper actually, but it was a white piece and I had used some of that watered down black acrylic paint treatment on that, just a lot. I think it was kind of towards the end of the dyeing. This one I had done a few years ago and it's just been in my stash, but I thought it was a perfect page to kind of break that up, and I like that better now. And now you have more writing space, so win-win. So okay, now at this point I'm in the middle of the journal. I have a bad habit where I load up the front half of a signature and then I'm like, oh, well, I got to do stuff from the rest of the signature now too. So I'm trying hard not to do that, kind of bouncing around back and forth. But took that in loving memory card and turned that into another tuck spot. Thought this was another good opportunity to get some more of the browns into the journal. And now I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do as far as a journaling card to tuck behind there. I remembered I had this napkin and thought, well, this is kind of interesting. It looks kind of good with that vulture. I guess if you want to say a vulture looks good. So I decided to do something with that, and I just had some water there with a paintbrush. And so just kind of separating the napkin. This is, on the beverage napkins on the sides, they have the like kind of embossed area. So I'm just getting rid of that and making it more like a journaling card size. So at this time I'm trying to figure out kind of how big it should be or how tall, which I wondered about the top half of that because those were then now upside down if I wanted this one to be right side up. So it worked out perfect that I was able to just take that off. And then now I'm just going to use the leftover of that piece of paper I just used to make another page in the signature as a journaling card. So again, with the glue stick, this is a really good way to put your or use your napkins, is to use a glue stick to secure them down. It's a lot less messy than if you were to use like matte gel medium or something. I've had bad luck with that. I always have good luck with gel stick and napkins. So that's what I use now. Okay, so now at this point I'm trying to decide what to do on there, and I thought, well, I could put a Tim Holtz person, and this guy with the flowers kind of seemed to make the most sense because, you know, it's talking about a funeral, and so maybe he's going to the funeral. And so, but he was kind of getting hidden on that background. So I'm trying to find something that I could use to uh, show him a little better on the page. And I'm telling you in person, this looks better than maybe it looks on camera. Uh, it it's still busy, but he is easier to see now. But I do use this, and I'm telling you, as I'm editing this video and, you know, obviously doing the voiceover, I'm like, oh God, that's not really, that doesn't look great. But in person, it looks better. So, and then at this point, I thought, well, I kind of wanted to distress that white paper a bit more, not quite have so much contrast. And so I decided to get out my black distress paint. It's black soot and water again. So I've kind of watered it down, and I kind of like how it's doing this on the back side, but I'm going to help it a little bit and just add a little bit more. So, yep, it's now completely wet. So I need to dry it, and there you go. So it's all dry now and really looks grungy and distressed, which I really like. There was that bit of transfer from my scratch paper on the back, but in the end I decided it kind of looks really cool and kind of fitting with the rest of the journal. So I'm going to just go ahead and glue that down there, and we'll glue him on top. And I think that's it for this journaling card. It's a little unorthodox and really outside my wheelhouse with the colors, but in the end I like how it turned out. So I thought it looked really good in this page here. I'll have his face peeking up just a little bit. All right, so back to this belly band that I made, and it happened to be the perfect size to put that spider. So I decided to put him there, and just need to now distress around the edges, and that'll be ready to go. I did consider sewing around the outside edge, but I decided not to because it's really easy to mess that up, and I didn't want to mess that up. So I guess whoever ends up with this journal, if they wanted to do that, that might be an idea. But yep. So then at this point now, I'm kind of getting towards the end and trying to figure out what I want to do with this angel. I feel like maybe this signature is all about cemeteries and funerals, because I guess maybe that's fitting as the last signature of this journal, because she is an angel that you would likely see in a cemetery, and it's probably where the picture was taken, actually. So I thought she would make a good kind of tip-in at the end of the journal, and so I just decided to fold over this edge and tip her in somewhere, somehow. She didn't really fit on those two pages, so I ended up putting her on that last page on the inside, but she was still a little bit too wide, so I had to take a little bit off the edge, and you'll never know that that was there. So go ahead and, yep, gotta ink all the edges and the crease and everything, and glue that down. And I did consider turning it into a pocket, but it wasn't quite sturdy enough for that, and I didn't feel like it really needed one more pocket. I thought that was a nice page to have some more hidden writing. Here is a skeleton bug that is a sticker, and I felt like it was just perfect on this page, so I just went ahead and stuck that down, and I really like that actually. Turned out really kind of cool. And then this guy, again, wanted to get some more of the brown in on the journal. And I'm going to warn you, unfortunately, my phone ran out of battery right as the end of this was happening. So I apologize. I do not have the full everything decorated here, but you'll see it in the final flip through. I'll make sure and show you everything. But right now I'm just trying to decide what I want to do for a journaling card in here. And again, I have all this gray paper, which I was trying to avoid using. So I had these three that were stamped and then embossed, and turned out really cool, but those two, the green one and this one, the embossing didn't turn out so good. So I thought, well, maybe I could put that page over the spider web, but you could still see some of the spider web coming through. And yeah, in the end, I don't believe I used this one. I did cut it down a little bit, and then I do like how it sticks out there. I don't know. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do here. I wanted to maybe add some more paper to it, but then how am I going to keep that raw edge the way that it is? Anyway, it just wasn't quite working the way I wanted it, but I do end up doing a journaling card behind there, and it looks really cool. And I do add some more to that right side page too. But anyway, I wanted to thank you all for joining me as I created this journal. Next up, we'll be finishing it up and doing the cover. So that's going to be fun. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed coming along, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.